The Waiting Game, a radio drama for Exposure Radio. Written by Paul Keenan, directed by Owen Cork. Produced and edited by Paul Keenan and Owen Cork.
Mr. Tarver will see you now.
Just take a seat, Clive. I'll be with you in a moment. Can I get you anything? Coffee, tea?
No, thank you, sir.
Any word on a donor for your son, Isaac, yet?
No, sir, no word.
Sorry to hear that. We're all hoping he pulls through.
Thank you, sir. He was being nice. This wasn't a good sign.
Now, let me see.
I could sense what was coming. Like an antelope seconds before a lion pounces, I could feel the danger. Everyone in the company knew of Tarver's reputation. He was tough, old school and demanding. I had been fortunate thus far in my career to avoid his wrath, but since I had been given the environmental division, I knew he had been waiting to take me down a peg or two. I knew inside he wouldn't have to wait much longer.
You've risen quickly through the ranks here, Clive. The second youngest employee to be a department head. Only I've done it quicker.
Thank you, sir.
You've made some progress in your time with our environmental division. And yet it's still not profitable. Why is that?
The department has had growth in every quarter since I was put in charge. We are making progress, it's just that we started in such a hole. It takes time to get out of it, but I think when our next quarterly figures are released, you'll see us turn a profit. A first for that department ever.
You've had a year now, Clive. Now you want more time?
That's not what I meant, Mr. Tarver. This department is about to turn a corner, and in my opinion, become profitable. The figures show it's heading in the right direction.
I do not want your empty promises or your excuses. I want results. And I don't believe that you're the man to get me or this company those results. I look at you, Mr. Lee, and I see a man who has used other people's work to gain promotions. Now, for any company to operate at its maximum potential, it requires all the cogs to operate smoothly and harmoniously as one, much like a clock. But if one of these cogs should fail, then the clock stops ticking. You, Mr. Lee, are a faulty cog.
Sir, please...
No, begging won't save you. I expect results quickly, and you haven't delivered. Now, given the unfortunate state of your son's health, I won't be firing you at this time, bad PR and all that. Instead, you'll be put on compassionate leave to be with your families. I'm sure they will need you. In around a month's time, I will make a recommendation to the board that you be replaced as department head. This, Mr. Lee, is what is known as the end of the line. No more chances. Now, I would suggest that you get your affairs in order.
And there it was. Just like the antelope, it was over quickly. I sat there briefly. The anger in me subsided. Tarver had won. He always did. I was done in the company, but I had more important things to think about now. I just wanted to be with Isaac. Yes, sir. Is there anything else, sir?
I think we're finished here.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lee, I do sincerely hope that a donor is found for your boy.
Thank you, sir.
Ground floor, door opening.
Clive? Clive?
I don't want to talk about it, Mal. I just want to get to the hospital.
Is everything okay with Isaac?
Look, there's been no change with Isaac. As for the meeting, let's just say it didn't go well, okay?
Oh, how bad?
Maybe P45 bad.
Really?
I don't know yet. They're putting me on compassionate leave for Isaac, and then they make a decision. So I really don't know. Look, I have to go.
Yeah, of course. Look, let me know when you're free and we can get a proper chat. Give Ruth my best, and Isaac too.
I will. You hold the fort for me, okay? How do I tell Ruth I've been fired? I can't not now. She has enough to deal with. I can't hide in the car. I need to be there for them both. For my wife and my son.
Hey, how did your meeting go?
Good. They're giving me some time off, so no work for the next few weeks anyway. So I'll be around for you and Isaac.
Good, because we'll need you.
I'm gonna go get a coffee. Do you want anything?
How about I go get you a coffee and you stay here and be with your son? Besides, the walk will do me good.
Sure. Do you have change for the machine?
I have some in my purse. Now sit down, spend some time with Isaac.
We're gonna get you fixed, son. Did you forget your purse, or...
Hello, Mr. Lee.
do you work here?
No, I'm afraid not. And to save time, you do not know me either.
Okay, so what are you doing in my son's room?
I'm here to help you, and your son.
What? Who are you? How can you help Isaac?
By helping your son to get a new heart.
How? How do you know about my son?
It's not hard to read a medical chart. Look, I know you have many questions. I would if I were you, but here is not the place to talk. All I need to know is, are you interested in my offer?
Yes.
Then we'll talk soon. But say nothing to anyone about me.
I don't even know who you are. How will I find you?
You don't need to know, and I'll find you soon. Now tell your boy to hang in there, and remember, shh.
Hey. Here you go. Careful, it's like lava in a cup.
Ah, thanks.
I spoke with Dr. Thornton in the corridor. He's going to come and speak to us in a couple of minutes.
Do you think there's been a change?
No, I don't think they would want to talk to us if they had a heart for Isaac. They would just take him and do the operation.
Yeah. Ah! I burnt my tongue.
I did tell you. Will you be okay?
Yeah, just stew a coffee machine.
Mr. and Mrs. Lee, how are we?
Good, Doctor.
If you just give me a moment to look at Isaac's charts. Yeah, okay. Isaac's vitals look good considering the circumstances. He's stable for the moment, but he needs a new heart, and unfortunately at this point, that's what we don't have. The longer he waits, the worse his condition gets.
We've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
I know, and because of the urgency of the situation and the decline in Isaac's health, he's been put to the top of the list. But the real problem is finding him a match. Isaac is AB negative, which is the rarest blood group, and those donors who were AB negative, his body would have rejected the MHC because he was allergic to the protein.
So what are the chances of getting a donor?
I don't know is the honest answer. It's a waiting game at this point. All I do know is the longer Isaac has to wait, the worse his health will get. There is only so long his own damaged heart will keep him alive. I'm sorry, I wish I had better news for the both of you.
It's okay. Thank you for keeping us informed, Doctor.
I have to continue with the rest of my rounds, but if there's any change, you'll be the first to know. I really do wish I had better news.
Back to waiting then.
There's nothing else we can. We have to be strong for Isaac. He'll pull through. All we need is a heart.
I could hear the hollowness in Ruth's words. She spoke like a besieged soldier thinking that rescue was on the way, but it was no more than a comforting lie. Worse than the lie itself was that Ruth knew the truth. We could do nothing to save our boy. We were as helpless as him. All we can do is wait and be here for him. The doctors are doing their best for him, and as they said, he's at the top of the list. It's just a matter of when, or if not, he gets a heart.
Exactly.
Now was one of those times when honesty wasn't important. Ruth needed to hear something that would give her hope, not destroy what was left of her belief. Look, I'm gonna go home, get a shower and some proper food. Then I'm gonna come back here, and then you're gonna go home to get a good night's rest and some decent food in you, okay?
No, I would...
I'm not taking no for an answer. I'll be here with Isaac, so if anything happens, I'll call you. Ruth, you're exhausted. You need a night away, and you hear the doctor. Isaac is stable. All we're doing is waiting, nothing more. Okay, now, phone if there's any change. But if not, I'll be back in an hour or so.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too.
I took the lead. Somebody's heart.
Evening, Mr. Lee. That shower has done you the world of good.
Dear sweet Moses, what the hell are you doing in my car? Who are you?
Clive. May I call you Clive? Time is of the very essence for Isaac. I think we need to have that conversation now.
Thanks. So, do you want to start with who you are?
I will, once I know I can trust you. For the time being, you may call me Zoe, and I want your help.
And why should I help someone who breaks into my car and doesn't even have the decency to tell me who they are?
My name is of little importance. I've had more of them than I can remember, and there is little substance in a name. I am what you would call a lady of the night for an upmarket clientele.
You're a whore.
And a very rich, talented one at that.
I was in a cafe with a hooker who broke into my car. What the hell am I doing? I should be at the hospital. So why does a prostitute want to help my son?
Because I need your help to kill your boss.
I'm sorry, what?
I want to kill Austin Tarver.
What, like, dead?
I would very much like it if he would cease to be. I wish him to be bereft of life, for him to shuffle off this mortal coil. And I want to look in the whites of his eyes as he dies. Is that clear enough for you?
Tarver, But why?
Do you know who you really work for, and what he is?
Well, Tarver is a tough old git, everyone knows that. He hates me. Probably gonna fire me, but I mean, why kill him? Why?
That tough old git murdered my sister 11 years ago. He got carried away, shall we say, and strangled her. No one cared because she was a whore. Charges were never brought against him, and so he's free. I want to kill him. I want revenge. It's all here in this file.
I leafed through the file. The spine was worn from continuous reading. It looked like she had pored over it repeatedly, looking for the answer to a question that haunted her. Who killed my sister? I got to a photo and stopped. The resemblance between the two was uncanny. They could easily have been twins, but for the obvious age difference. Tess was her name. The police report made reference to the murder. Tess was found strangled in a ditch, but there were no leads. How do you know it was Tarver who did it? This report, which is a police report, how the hell did you get this? Says there were no suspects, so how does Tarver link in?
My sister was like me. A night's entertainment with her cost a lot of money. That leaves a very select group of people. Tarver's name was on the list of customers, but that was all. A few years back, a limo driver was collecting me after a night's work. He asks, can I get a coffee with him? I say no. Then he tells me how much I look like Tess. I tell him I've changed my mind about the coffee, but we have it somewhere public. I sat in that booth over there, while this guy poured his heart out, told me he had been the driver that night, told me what Tess was wearing, her perfume, things he shouldn't know but did. He also told me how Tarver strangled Tess, and then paid for his silence. He asked for my forgiveness, finished his coffee, and left me home. 2 weeks go by, and he kills himself, leaves a suicide note saying he found the forgiveness and peace he'd been searching for. I know Tarver did it. The driver's eyes told me all I needed to know.
I looked in her eyes. Her resolve was absolute. Austin Tarver killed this girl's sister. There was no room for doubt in her mind. Her resolve was absolute. One way or another, she was going to kill Tarver. So let's say he killed your sister.
He did.
So what has this to do with me and my son?
Killing someone is very easy. Getting away with killing someone is not. I don't particularly want to go to prison, and that's where I need your help.
And what would I be doing?
I need you to get a gun into the building past security. I can't. Once the gun is inside, I can do the rest. It's that simple.
That's simple. So, why am I going to help you? Why am I going to be an accessory to murder? And where am I meant to get a gun? This isn't America. There aren't gun shops on every corner.
Because if you do, you have a chance to save your son. Look at you. You're a father who loves his son, right?
With all my heart.
Yet day after day you go into that hospital, helplessly waiting for the right heart to come along. All the while you watch as your son gets weaker every day. It must make you feel helpless. And eventually, you'll watch him die. I'm offering you another route.
By helping you to kill my boss, I don't see how my son gets a new heart out of that.
And I thought you were a smart man, Clive. You see, the funny thing about Austin Tarver is that his blood group is AB negative, and the protein markers match your son's. He's the donor you've been waiting for. It's all in the file there. As for the gun, I already have one. What I'm asking you to do isn't easy. Think about it. If you're in, meet me here tomorrow evening. If not, I hope your son finds a donor. No parent should have to bury a child.
I leafed through the files. It was like my every prayer had been answered. Tarver was everything Isaac needed. As close to a perfect match according to the records, and an organ donor as well. Never thought the old codger would part with anything, never mind an organ. Here was my hope, and it was called Austin Tarver.
You took your time.
I know, I'm sorry. I had a bath instead of a shower. I needed it. Just to soak in the water with only my thoughts for company. It was good. No change, I take it.
None. And you're forgiven. Are you sure you're okay with this? I can stay if you want.
No, you're going, and that is final. You need a hot meal and a good night's rest. We'll both be okay, I promise.
Okay. Call me if there's any change. I love you. I love you too, Isaac. Don't go anywhere. Bye.
I sat there in the room with my son, a lifeless shell as my mind raced. Should I help murder Tarver to get my son a new heart, or keep playing the waiting game and hope one is found? The sounds of the machines keeping Isaac alive became the lullaby of my torment. Did Tarver deserve to die? Did Isaac? As the hours went by, my torment grew less. I knew what I had to do. As I sat in my son's hospital room listening to the machines that kept him alive, I decided to become a murderer.
So you're in?
I am, but I have a few rules. 1. Once this is done, I never hear from you again. 2. If you get caught, you're on your own. I don't know you. 3. If you in any way damage the heart that meant my son, I will find you and kill you. Are we clear?
Crystal.
I assume you have a plan worked out.
That I do.
Well, let's hear it.
Your Mr. Tarver is a model of consistency. Every Wednesday he stays late at his office to do work, or so he would have Mrs. Tarver and the world believe, when in fact he is spending his time with a lady of the night, shall we say. This Wednesday I'm going to be that lady, and that's when I kill him. What I need from you is to put the gun sitting in the envelope next to you in the women's bathroom on Tarver's floor. That's simple.
If it's that simple, why do you need me?
Tarver's not a stupid man. Every girl that works the Wednesday shift is searched by your security, and it's not like I'll be wearing a lot of clothes to conceal a gun. You won't be searched. They know you. I make my excuses to use the ladies' room and pick up the gun.
What about cameras?
The guards are paid a bit extra by Tarver to turn off the ones in his office. No one will ever see me kill him. A hat will conceal my face from those in the rest of the building. Once I've killed him, I leave. When I'm far enough away, I phone an ambulance to the scene, and your son gets a new heart.
How do you get away? When the police find the car, they'll pore all over it forensically.
The limo I'm in has been arranged to be taken care of, shall we say. The police will never find it.
How do you know all this? How did you plan this?
Clive, don't take this personally, but men are fickle creatures who talk far too much in a set of handcuffs.
It looks like a plan. One that could work, but I have to ask. Can you do it? Can you pull the trigger?
I've waited 11 years for this opportunity. That moment where I can look him in the eye and give him the justice he deserves. The justice my sister never got. So yes, not only can I, but I will.
Then we're done here. The gun will be in the roof of the first cubicle. After that, it's all you. And don't take this the wrong way, but I hope I never see you again.
Likewise, Mr. Lee.
I hope you find what you need in that office.
I know I will.
How is he?
Still the same. And there's no news of a donor either. I don't want my son to die. I can't bury my child.
I wish I could say he was going to be all right, but the truth is I don't know. We're in the lap of the gods and there's nothing worse than that.
Lie to me.
Dr. Thornton is going to walk through that door in a couple of hours and tell us they've got a heart for Isaac. We'll go up to the OR and his operation will be a success. And by the end of the week our little boy will be awake and wide-eyed and looking to leave this boring hospital. And we will. Together as a family.
Liar.
The next few days were amongst the longest. Ruth's belief was almost gone. My last hope, Isaac's last hope, lay with a vengeful hooker. Getting the gun into the building had been easy enough. When I was stopped by security, all they wanted to know was how Isaac was doing. I used my son's sickness to get what would be a murder weapon past them. I felt so empty doing it, but I knew what was at stake. The hardest part was getting it into the woman's toilet without being seen. I had to wait until the offices were empty. Even Tarver had gone home. I was a nervous mess carrying the gun. I even dropped it a few times. Thankfully no one saw, and I put it where it needed to go, where Zoe could get it. Then I left the building back to the waiting game once more. "11:10. The deed should be done." The hospital room was dark and silent despite the best efforts of my son's medical machines. Ruth lay peacefully in a chair, asleep by Isaac's bed. They were the calm waters to my storm of conflict. As I watched them both, I couldn't help but feel adrift and helpless. It wouldn't last. Soon we would know. This was it. I didn't need to open the text from Mal. I knew what it would say. Tava was dead. The deed was done. But that was only the beginning. I looked out the window of my son's room. The silent, gentle still of the corridor was breaking. I could see a flurry of activity as a nurse answered a phone, and another one made a call, probably to Dr. Thornton. I looked at Isaac, and I knew what was to come. This was it. The waiting game was nearly over. My son's fate would be decided tonight.
Mr. and Mrs. Lee, we're moving your son to the OR to prep him for an operation. There's a heart on the way for Isaac. We've contacted Dr. Thornton and he's on his way in. Now, we need to move Isaac.
Oh, thank God.
If you stay here, someone will bring you up to the waiting area before Isaac goes in.
Thank you. Thank you.
The waiting game is a painful and cruel purgatory, like someone clinging desperately to the edge of a building, fighting against a force they can't control. When the news you have waited for finally comes, you either plunge to the depths of despair or are pulled up into the arms of ecstasy. Ruth and I had been holding on for hours. There'd been no news. I felt like we were slipping.
Clive, Ruth, I've just spoken with the surgeon.
The pause in his sentence lasted a lifetime. Silence had never been so cruel.
The operation was a success. Your son has a new heart. Obviously, we still have to keep a close eye on him in terms of infection and seeing how his body responds, but as of right now, we're extremely happy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You don't have to. It was lucky that we got a heart that matched your son. The rest was, well, the surgeons.
No, you've helped us a lot. Kept us informed, and you've always been honest with us, not sugarcoating the truth, and looking after my boy. Thank you so much.
I'm just glad to see you two smiling and happy to finally give you two the good news that you've deserved for so long. I'm going to go and check on Isaac in recovery. If everything is okay, you guys can go visit him for a few minutes. I'm sure you're just as weary, and all three of you could do with some rest.
Thank you.
Our Isaac is going to be fine.
I know. As I held Ruth, the feeling coursing from both of us was palpable. My boy was alive, but at what cost? The thought haunted my mind, but for now I wanted to see my son. The consequence of my actions could wait.
May his souls and the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen.
I still can't believe he's dead. I mean, a brain aneurysm at his age starts to make you think, doesn't it?
It does.
I never would have pegged the old ghetto, God rest his soul, as being an organ donor. Thought he would have taken everything to the grave with him.
Well, thankfully he didn't. And because of it, Isaac is alive.
It's good to hear that Isaac's going to be okay. I'll be honest, you sound and look much better these days.
Thanks. I feel better. Just like a weight off my shoulders.
So, did they give you a date to start back yet?
Yeah, I have a few more weeks of freedom and then right back at it. Tava was true to his word, thankfully. He just told them I was on compassionate leave. His intentions to fire me go to the grave with him.
Thankfully.
Indeed. And that stays between you and me, okay?
My lips are sealed.
I knew Malcolm was true to his word. He was a good friend. A lesser man may have seen that I had a lot to gain from Tava's death and asked questions. Malcolm was just happy to see me out from under the dark cloud. And Isaac alive.
Shall we leave? There's not much else to be seen, and it is bloody cold.
I think you're right. You wouldn't mind dropping me off at the cafe, would you? I said I'd meet a friend there for coffee.
Aye. Sure, not a problem.
I sometimes hate it when I'm right, and this was one of those times. When I got to the cafe, I saw Zoe sitting in the booth where we had planned Tarver's murder. As always, with Zoe, I had no clue what to expect. All I could hope is that this would be our final meeting. Can I join you?
That's why you came here?
This wouldn't be easy.
How's Isaac?
Doing well. The transplant was a success. He's getting stronger every day.
And the funeral?
A subdued affair. A lot of people went out of duty rather than actual grief. Testament to the man's legacy. As I answered her questions, I could see the anger in her eyes, feel the raw tone in her voice. I was on edge solely because I had no clue what she was thinking or was likely to do. My sole bit of comfort was that I was surrounded by witnesses.
You took it from me. You took...
I did what I had to do, and I'd do it again.
I would have killed him.
I couldn't take that chance.
Who gave you the right to take my revenge?
My son! I had hoped that you would have shot him, really, but what would have happened if you didn't? Or worse still, he killed you. My son's life is just too important. You were right. I was sick of being helpless. You gave me a chance, and I took it.
I was about to kill him. He was begging for his life, pleading with me that he didn't kill Tess. And then it was gone. He flopped to the ground in front of me. He lay there lifeless, and I knew it was you who did it. How did you get away with it?
You're not the only one who can read a medical file. His family have a history of brain aneurysms, the right cocktail of drugs in his whiskey, and well, no one ever thought to do a tox screen. They just assumed it was a genetic thing.
Why?
It's easy to talk about killing someone, but looking into their eyes and pulling the trigger, I wasn't sure when the moment you arrived you would do it. I wanted a backup plan. It was like you said, Tarver was a man of consistency. He likes a drink to unwind, so I knew he'd have him with you. I needed to make sure that heart got to my son.
I would have done it.
What does it matter? As long as he's dead, your sister has her justice.
It mattered to me.
Well, I can't change what I did. The deed is done.
Can you live with it?
I think the most damning thing isn't that I killed him, but I can live with it. And I do it again. I look at my son and what guilt I feel just slips away. I don't care. I know it'll cost me my self-respect and then he'll haunt me, but when I see Isaac it washes all away. I really hope you understand. I really do.
I do. To an extent. But you robbed me of something I needed. A circle that I can never close.
Then I'm sorry. That's all I have.
You're right. It is. What I asked you to do was very simple. Get a gun past security. There was only a limited risk to yourself, and yet you decided to act beyond your brief. You took something from me. You took the closure I needed. And I can never have that now because of you. I am, however, a simple creature. You take something from me, so I'll take something from you.
What did you do?
Don't let your final moments be concerned with that. Think of your family. For what it's worth, I'm very sorry it came to this.
Isaac, please.
I would never hurt your son. Just you. Goodbye, Clive. Another life, perhaps. I grabbed the sugar dispenser as I left the table. The police would never find the poison-laced murder weapon. I didn't look back at Clive. I couldn't. I was fraught with guilt. In my heart I knew I had killed the wrong man out of spite and revenge. Yet it had to be done. He had taken my last chance at closure, at avenging my sister's death. I could live with it, my one sin. As I got to the door, I could see a crowd forming around Clive out of the corner of my eye. They didn't know how helpless he was. As they tried to save him, I quietly walked out the door, into the shadows and into another life. Clive wasn't the only one to die in that cafe. So too would Zoe.
You have been listening to The Waiting Game, a radio drama for Exposure Radio. Written by Paul Keenan, directed by Owen Cork, produced and edited by Paul Keenan and Owen Cork. Characters by order of appearance: Secretary, played by Amy Rowlands; Austin Tarver, played by Scott Barker; Clive Lee, played by Dale Matthews; Malcolm, played by Arthur Huxton; Ruth Lee, played by Elizabeth Coyle; Zoe, played by Anna Sharrett; Nurse, played by Amy Mills; and Dr. Thornton, played by Paul Keenan. Music composed and written by Jack Farrow, Matt Price, Tom Sanders, Dan Lewis, and Henry Matthews.